Welcome to PLZ Soccer and a look at the back page headlines in the sporting pages north and south of the border. It's been an interesting weekend. Of course, Celtic did indeed clinch the title. Before we look at the back pages of the Sun and the Record in Scotland, confirmation has been released that Graham Murty's been sacked by Rangers after that humiliating defeat against Celtic by 5-0 on Sunday afternoon. So, Jimmy Nicol and Jonathan Johansson will take charge for the 3 remaining games. And it brings to an end a period in charge for Graham Murty that I thought was a job that was way too big for him. I'd said way back at the start, even when he was interim boss, and some people in sections of the media were calling for him to be made the Rangers manager full-time, he could do this job. Here was an inexperienced young man taking the under-20s development side and then elevated to one of the biggest jobs in Scottish football, way beyond him. But the proof is in the pudding. He came up against Brendan Rodgers on the field. Rodgers was tactically too good for him. And over and above that, let's be fair to Graham Murty, he was taking on a team with various other loan signings brought in January that wasn't his team. And in the end, they just couldn't live up to the pace and power and, of course, strength and depth of Celtic. So, Graham Murty now gone from Rangers. The big question is, who takes over from him? Well, on the Sun story, and the Sun had the exclusive on Steven Gerrard being the #1 target. It's show Stevie the money. It's as simple as that. Steven Gerrard's had initial talks. There may well be further talks this week. But I think he wants to know how much money he's going to have in the kitty to seriously challenge Celtic. And that's the big dilemma here, because quite simply, I don't even think the Rangers board are able to give him a definitive figure on this, because there's not a lot of money. Certainly not the figures that Rangers need to take on Celtic. Steven Gerrard is a big name. Yes, it's a risk. He doesn't have any real coaching experience at the top level, although I'm sure he's got great qualities in the youth setup at Liverpool at the moment. But let's cut to the chase on this. I just wonder if Steven Gerrard will indeed take that Rangers job. It is a massive gamble for him in his career. So anyway, that's the Sun there, and it also carries the headline from Martin O'Neill saying this is the worst Rangers team ever. Well, Martin, you haven't been watching them that long, because I can think of teams that were worse than this Rangers side. This Rangers side are third, battling away for second. They're better than what they were under Pedro Caixinha, that's for certain. But over and above that, worst Rangers team ever, it's all subjective, depends on the generation that you were watching Rangers. And Graham Murty is the topic of conversation for Martin O'Neill in the Sun. He says they've thrown Graham to the garbage, and I think this is off the back of, he goes into a Scottish Cup semi-final with Dave King releasing a statement before it, just basically derailing any hopes he had, Graham, of getting the job full-time, because Dave King, it wasn't even a vote of confidence, it is, we're looking elsewhere. And then just ahead of the Celtic game in the league, what happens? Suddenly from somewhere, the link to Steven Gerrard comes out. So poor timing, and I think treating the former Rangers manager with contempt, because if you just joined this, he's been sacked. In the paper, it's all about the Celtic players revelling in their win. There's a nice little piece on the Rangers kids under-17s defeated Celtic in the Glasgow Cup final last night. I covered that match, and there were some really promising youngsters in the Rangers side at under-17. But, you know, 2, 3, 4 years from now, whether any of them will make it to the top flight, the success rate is in single figures percentage-wise for that one. So that's the Sun. As far as the Record's concerned, again, you've treated Graham like garbage. Seems to be the main headline there, and a good piece from Brendan Rodgers just on the treatment of this young man, what effect it will have on him. I have great sympathy for Graham Murty because the job was too big for him. The club is colossal. In the background, there's nothing but carnage going on. You know, they need big investment, big money, but there are other people in there, all with their own little piece of the pie at Rangers, and how they sort it out, I do not know. Little sidebar in the Daily Record saying Charlie Masada, Chelsea are a little bit worried he's not getting game time. He's only actually played 3 games for Celtic. I think started 3 games, but to be perfectly honest with you, he doesn't really have a leg to stand on. He's not good enough to get in the team at the moment. It's simple as that. And Brendan sometimes likes to ease loan players into his system. So what the future holds for Charlie Masada, I don't know. And John Hartson in the Daily Record has actually got a piece here where he said, listen, if Steven Gerrard got the job, can't make him any worse than what's gone before. So clearly, Rangers are getting a kicking at the moment, and I have to say, after the weekend game, 5-0, it was the most inept Rangers performance I've seen. Even when they tried to press Celtic, they were just cut open. It could have been 8, I kid you not, had it not been for Jack Anick. Back page of The Guardian, again, great picture of Dele Alli and of course Harry Kane celebrating Tottenham's win. They're in the box seat now in 4th place for the Champions League football. Of course, they've got, I think it's a 5-point lead over Chelsea with that win, and they've all played 35 games. So Chelsea look as if they could miss out in the top 4, and in The Guardian there's a whole look at the game with a 2-0 win over Watford. There's a good piece in there saying Vieira, is he the right man for Arsenal? And this is just looking at his credentials and whether his style of football, which is very similar to Arsene Wenger, is he the right man to come in now and replace the Gunners legend who, as we know, has decided to move on. And there's a little piece here which I think is a sad one. It's maybe gone unnoticed from many, but the match programme in England could be a thing of the past in the next couple of years because of the rise of social media and obviously digital versions of games. The falling sales could suggest that the match programme will be a thing of the past. And when you think about the times you would chase a classic game that you were at, you wanted to get it, you want to buy it, and now that could be a thing of the past, nothing that you could actually hold on to. It's perhaps an indication also of the state of play as far as the newspaper industry is concerned as well. As more and more people switch over to digital, you can read it on your phone. Do you need a match programme? Anyway, apart from that, that's how the papers are looking. Let's not forget, at 4:30, Simon Donnelly, Alan Ruff and myself will be looking at the Champions League as well. Real Madrid against Bayern Munich, Real holding a 2-1 lead. And what about that match over in Italy? Roma against Liverpool. Liverpool 5-2 up in that game. And it'll be interesting to see if indeed Roma can stage another fight back tomorrow night. We'll talk about that, but I think the main thing we're going to be talking about is Rangers. They've sacked their manager Graham Murty. They're looking for another new manager. Could it be Steven Gerrard? Well, if you get a chance, just look at the third back page of The Guardian. There's a piece here, obviously, that Zeljko Buvac, who is the assistant to Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, has stepped down from his role for family reasons. Now, I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5 here, but if Steven Gerrard decides not to take the Rangers job, could he go in as Klopp's assistant short term to the end of the season? Give us your thoughts at PLZ Soccer on Twitter, facebook.com/PLZ Soccer. See you at 4:30.